So, what happens after we die? It's maybe the oldest question there is, right? For centuries, we've had philosophy and religion, but what if there was a map? In this explainer, we're diving into the work of a hypnotherapist, Dr. Michael Newton, who believed he actually documented one based on thousands of real-life case studies. Let's take a look at what he found.
You know, the research behind this map really starts with this question. On one hand, of course we are. We're wired to survive. But the material suggests there's another part of us, maybe you'd call it the soul, that has this quiet feeling that this isn't the end of the road, that there's something more.
Now, this map we're about to look at, it doesn't come from ancient scriptures. It was built from thousands and thousands of hypnotic sessions. Dr. Newton started out as a total skeptic, a traditional therapist. But he was just floored when he realized his clients, from all different walks of life, were describing the exact same detailed journey between lives, no matter what they consciously believe.
So you might be wondering, how in the world did he get this information? Well, his model breaks the mind down into these 3 levels. He figured out a way to guide people past their everyday critical mind, and even past the subconscious where all our current life memories are stored, and tap into what he called the superconscious. He claimed this is the mind of the soul itself. It's the real you, and that's where this whole map comes from.
All right, let's start the journey. According to these thousands of accounts, what happens in those very first moments right after our physical life is over?
The first thing almost everyone reports is this feeling of floating, of looking down at their own body. And you can just feel the confusion in this quote, right? But it's also this incredible moment of truth. Wait a minute, I'm still here, even though my body isn't working anymore.
Newton actually gave this a name, calling it the hovering soul syndrome. He found that a lot of souls don't just zip away to the spirit world right away. They choose to hang around for a bit. So the big question is, why?
Well, the number one reason over and over again is the desire to comfort the loved ones they left behind. See, the soul knows it's not a final goodbye, but it's incredibly hard to get that message through the thick wall of grief the living are feeling. Another big reason is just plain confusion, especially if the death was sudden. The soul sometimes needs a minute to process what just happened.
So, once the soul feels ready to leave the earthly plane behind, the next stage of the adventure begins. This is the journey back to what they call their true home.
Now, this part is probably going to sound pretty familiar from all of the near-death experiences you hear about. His subjects consistently talk about being pulled into this tunnel of light, which they all seem to know is the portal back to the spirit world.
And this right here, this captures the feeling they all describe. The moment they enter that gateway, it's just this incredible wave of relief and freedom. All the physical pain, the emotional baggage from life on Earth, it just dissolves. They say it feels like returning to a place of complete and total peace.
And at the other end of that tunnel, you're not walking into an empty room. The reports all describe a massive homecoming party, a reunion. You are met by souls you know, souls you love, who have been waiting for you to get there.
Okay, but who exactly is in this welcoming party? This is where it gets really interesting. It's not just one group. You're met by your soulmates, these are your peers, the souls you spent countless lives with, and you're also met by your spiritual guide. Think of the guide as a much more advanced teacher who has been with you personally for your soul's entire existence.
So after this amazing homecoming, the real work begins. This next part of the journey is all about healing from the earthly experience and starting a process of, well, self-evaluation.
Before you do any kind of life review, the soul has to heal, and subjects describe this absolutely incredible experience they call a shower of healing. It's like being bathed in these streams of intelligent energy that literally wash away all the trauma and damage from physical life, making the soul whole again.
Once you're fully restored and feeling like yourself again, you go through something called an orientation. It's basically a one-on-one meeting with your guide where you gently go over the life you just finished. You look at what went well, what was tough, and whether you learned the lessons you set out to learn.
And this is a really important point that comes up in all the reports. This review is not a judgment. As this person put it, punishment is an earth condition. It doesn't exist there. The only goal is understanding and growth. In fact, most people report that they are their own toughest critic in these sessions.
So let's talk about the soul's true home. This is where souls spend most of their time between lives, living in a community that's completely focused on learning and development.
At the very core of this spirit world society is your soul group. You can think of them as your eternal family or your cosmic best friends.
They're small, tight-knit groups of souls who are all at about the same level of development. The bond is so deep that you choose to come back to Earth together over and over again as family and friends to help each other grow.
So if the groups are based on developmental level, how is that measured? Well, according to Newton's subjects, a soul's progress is literally visible as the color of its energy, its aura. As you can see, brand new souls tend to show up as white. As they progress, they move into yellow, and eventually the really advanced souls radiate blues and purples.
Okay, so after mapping out this whole incredible journey, from the moment of death to the healing to rejoining your community, what's the whole point of it all? What's the big picture here?
The single most powerful message that came out of all 7,000 cases was this: there is a grand design. Nothing is random, not a single thing. Everything, from the family you're born into to the toughest challenges you face, is part of a structured, orderly plan for your soul's growth.
And that reveals the ultimate purpose of life on Earth. It's not a prison, it's not a mistake, it's a school, a very advanced school. According to this map, we actually choose to come here, to take on a physical body, because it's the perfect training ground for learning the really hard lessons, like compassion, forgiveness, and unconditional love.
Which really brings us to the final thought. If we just entertain this framework as a possibility, that death isn't some terrifying end, but more like a graduation, a homecoming, how does that change the way we look at our lives today? How does that change the meaning of everything we're going through right now?